It's a weekend, and you're once again welcome to the Weekend Health Talk Show. I am Albert Sedu here, your host. Today, I'm privileged to have a friend, a brother. He is a classmate, a colleague. We sat in the same class for 6 years. Yeah, so we've been, buddies, and he is an expert in the field of orthopedics. He's a specialist surgeon, a senior resident, and he's accepted. Trust me, these guys are very, very busy, but he's accepted to grace us to talk on a very important topic, spondylosis. He is a member of the Ghana College of Surgeons and a member of the West African College of Surgeons as well. Please join me welcome Dr. Jefferson Owusu Ade to share on the topic spondylosis. Doc, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Albert, for having me. Let me just. It's my. I hope my video is okay.
Yeah, very okay, sir.
All right, great. Let me try and share my screen.
Good.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you once again for having me, and thanks to everyone for making time. Weekends are quite busy. People trying to relax, bonding with family, people going for funerals and all of that. So when you have people making time to tune in for such programs, we don't take it for granted. So thanks to everybody, those on YouTube and those who've joined the Zoom meeting, for coming in. I'll try and be very brief and probably invite more questions, since I think that will make it more interactive. So my good friend asked me to talk about spondylosis, which I get from him, many of his viewers and his followers want to understand what exactly it's about. And so I'll try and go through that. And hopefully at the end of it, we would know a thing or two about it, and ways and things that we can put in place to help reduce this from happening. So basically, when we say spondylosis, it's a degenerative disease of the spine. By degenerative, I mean it's a wear and tear. Just like you buy a shoe, and then the sole of the shoes, portions of it wear after you've worn it for some time. The same way the parts of the body wear off with time. And one of the parts of the body that this is really manifested is when it comes to our bones. And so I'm sure you've all heard of arthritis. I'm sure if you have a parent who is above 50, or you have a grandparent, definitely they'll be complaining to you about waist pain, back pain, hip pain, knee pain, pains in their joints, mostly because of arthritis, which is wear and tear. So a similar thing happens in your spine. And then when it happens, there are so many names people call it, spondylosis, but basically it's a degenerative disease. Just a big word for saying that it's wear and tear. So the bone wears and tears with time. So if you look at this diagram, our spine starts from just below our skull. So it starts from sorry, let me get a pointer. Good. So it starts from this side, would be just below your skull, and all the way to your lower back, to behind or in between your buttock area. All right. So it's a total of about between 33 to 35 bones, depending on the number of bones individuals have, a few variations. And they are classified, or they are grouped into sections. So the ones at the top, close to your neck, they are called, I don't know what's happening, but my pointer is all over the place. But the ones around the neck are called the cervical. So the cervical spine, I'm sure you've all heard about it. Then below that, from the chest area, we call it the thoracic. And then when you come to the lower back, getting to the buttock area, we call that the lumbar spine. And then below it, you have what we call the sacrum, and the tip of it is called the coccyx. Spondylosis commonly happen around the neck and then around the lower back. So you have cervical, either cervical spondylosis or lumbar spondylosis. Let's just look at how our spine is made. So this is how the spine looks like from the neck all the way to the lower parts, but we're just emphasizing on the lower part. So the spine is made of individual bones that are stuck on each other. So God arranged individual bones on each other. And then in between the bones, you see this blue thing is we can say that's a shock absorber. So there's a shock absorber in between the bones from the neck all the way down to just before the bone behind the buttock area. All right. So this shock absorber, just like any shock absorber or a shock absorber in your car, it just helps to absorb some of the shocks that the body takes when we stand, when we walk around, when we sit and all of that. Now, behind these bones, behind the bones, it's a hole that the spinal cord passes through. So I'm sure you've all heard about the spinal cord, but the spinal cord, I usually liken it to, let's say, the main line or the main wire that takes power from Akosombo. I mean, so those who don't know, Akosombo Dam is the major hydroelectric plant in Ghana. And once the power is produced, so in this case, our brain will be the dam, which is producing the electricity. And then once it's produced, the electricity needs to be distributed. And so your spinal cord is what is going to distribute this energy or electricity from your brain to the rest of the body. So the spinal cord passes in the holes behind the individual bones of the spine. And then at a point, when it gets to the lumbar, about the first lumbar and the second, between the first and the second lumbar vertebra, it ends. But the important thing about this is that in between the bones, the spinal cord gives off branches, all right, to supply parts of the body. And these branches, we refer to them as nerves. That's what helps us to feel. That's what enables us to move parts of our body. That's what enables us to feel pain and all of that. So at the level of our neck, the branches that it gives, those ones come into our hands to supply our hands. So it gives us energy, not energy, it gives us strength to move our hands, to feel when there is pain or there's a temperature difference. And then at our lower back, this area, the branches that come off would go and supply strength to your legs. So those are the ones that are supplied to the legs. And so when you have a problem in your neck, we'll come to that. But then when you have a problem in your spondylosis in your neck, then you're going to have some of the symptoms in your hands because the branches that are coming to your hands. It's just like if the power is coming from Akosombo and there's a wire to Tema, and somebody goes to cut the branch that is going to Tema, the whole of Tema will not have light, isn't it? So a similar thing. So because it's coming to the hands, whenever there's a problem in the neck, you have some of the symptoms in your hands. In the lower back as well, when there is a problem to the branches in the lower back, then you're going to have some symptoms in your legs, which we're going to talk about. I'll go back to this picture and just show something that our spine is not straight. If you look at it from the front of a human being, like in this picture, you would think it's straight. But then if you look at the side, if you look at it from the side, you realize that it's not straight. There are some curvatures in it. And this, in maintaining this curvature is very important. Once you lose this curvature, you begin to have pressure on some of these nerves, which can also cause symptoms. And those are some of the ways how people develop this spondylosis, or this wear and tear of the spine that we're talking about. So the wear and tear basically is going to be, it's going to affect mostly the shock absorber, which is this blue thing. And then eventually, once it affects the shock absorber, it's going to affect the bone, and then eventually going to affect the spinal cord and the branches of the spinal cord. And then I will come to explain that. So what causes this? Because it's wear and tear, it just comes with age. So by the time anybody is maybe 50, 55, thereabout, definitely by the time you retire, you would have degenerative changes in your spine and in other joints. But in this case, we are concentrating on the spine. No matter what you do, you are going to have some degenerative changes there. And not everybody with a degenerative change would have symptoms. So if somebody is 50 or 60 and doesn't have those symptoms, that doesn't mean those changes are not there. They are there, the wear and tear has happened, but maybe they are not too severe to cause pain. So once we grow in, it's going to happen. The only way to do it to prevent it is if you don't grow, which I don't think is not possible. I don't think that's possible. And so once we're going to go at a point, we're going to have these problems. And so something that we should look out for. Another way to get it is if you should have some sort of injury. So if somebody is involved in a road traffic accident, has an injury to the spine, then that could fasten, or that could quicken the process and let the person develop these wear and tear changes very early. One thing that is worrying young people now is positioning, the way we position our spine, because we have to work, especially those in the corporate, or even those who are doing a lot of work that entails manual strength. So, those of us that work in the corporate world, working behind our computers, either in the banks or in any organization, usually your employers provide you very good chairs. And if you look at the back of the swivel chair, if you look at the back of the chair, you realize that the back of the chair is not straight. The back of the chair is curved, and it's supposed to, it gives you that curvature of your spine, this curvature that we talked about, such that in order to keep your spine in and maintain the curvature, you need to relax your back in the back of your seat. You don't need to lean forward. What most people do is that they have very good chairs, but then they would move forward, they sit at the edge of the chair, and then work on their computer. Once you do that, your back straightens, and there are some muscles around the spine that will go into contraction, and that in itself causes so much pain. And if you do that consistently over time, it quickens the process of the degeneration. So it makes the wear and tear happen quickly. So a lot of young people in their 30s, even some in their late 20s, in their early 40s, will come to the hospital. I see them on a weekly basis complaining of back pain, severe back pain, either lower back or pain around the neck. And it's basically because they are not sitting well in their offices. The offices have provided them very good chairs. Surprisingly, they all come complaining that the chairs in their offices are not good. But when you go in and question them, you realize that, they really have good chairs. But the problem is that they are not sitting well. They are not using the chair to its maximum capabilities, and therefore they will have these problems. So our sitting position, the same thing happens in our driving position. There are so many people who drive, they just move forward to hold on to the steering wheel when they take their back off the back of your car seats. If you realize the back of the car seat is also not straight, it's also curved. So ideally, you're supposed to sit down, relax in the back seat, move your seat forward so that you can have a good control of the steering wheel and then drive. Once you move forward and straighten your back, you put you make your back straight, you lose the curves, and over time that is going to cause pain. So if you do all these things, or even if you don't do, and then you grow, what happens is that the shock absorbers, so if you see this picture, the shock absorbers will begin to wear out, just like the shock absorber of a car will wear out, and then you would have to change it. But unfortunately, the shock absorber of the human being cannot just go and change it. I mean, there are procedures now to help with that, but I mean, you can't just go and change it like that. So if you look at this, what's happened is that we come here and there's a very nice shock absorber here, but in this picture, if you look at this side, the shock absorber has almost completely worn out, to the extent that the bone on top and the bone below are kissing each other. They are just bone to bone instead of bone, shock absorber, bone. And this is what happens as we age, or when we have any trauma to the back, or if we don't sit well at work over a long period. Now we begin to, so when that happens, the bone comes to meet the other bone, and therefore the space here reduces. Once this space reduces, it's going to affect the space for the nerves, all right? And so the bone is going to start pressing on the nerves. And once it starts pressing on the nerves, then you begin to have the symptoms of the pain and many other things that will soon come to. All right, so we see what happens. The shock absorbers are worn out. The bone begins to rub against bone. As it rubs against the bone edges even begins some new bone begins to form at the edges, which would press on the nerves around, and then the space for the nerves also reduces. Now, if you look at this space in between, each spine, each individual bone communicates with the bone below and the bone above. So there's a joint, we call it a facet joint. So when all these things are happening, there's degenerative changes there as well. And if you can see this, these are like huge bones that are formed as a result of the degeneration. And these are going to really press on the nerves here, and they are going to give you symptoms, very severe symptoms. So that's how these things develop, and this is what we call the spondylosis. So if this happens, what are some of the symptoms? Initially, you're going to have back pain. The young people who have the back pain, most of them, the spondylosis has not started yet, but because they don't sit well, and then they lose the curvature of their spine, the muscles around the spine goes into contraction, and that can give you a lot of pain. But when the disease process progresses, what is going to happen is that you're going to have the bones, because the space has reduced, the nerves are going to be compressed. And when the nerves are compressed, that's when a lot of the pain begins. Most importantly, you can compress the spinal cord itself. And when the spinal cord itself is compressed, it even brings more serious problems. And so you can begin with either pain at in your neck area or pain at the lower back. Usually the pain will start gradually. You will not be able to, most of the time, there will not be any, as you wouldn't have noticed any injury to it. You are just there, and then it starts. Maybe somebody in their early 50s, middle 50s, come with such pain. And so the pain gets worse over time, because the more the space reduces, the more the nerve will be compressed, and the worse the symptoms would become. And so you have the nerves being pressed, which causes pain. And even the bone rubbing against the bone at this stage will even also produce some pain. Now, I said that the lower back nerves supply strength to your legs, and then the nerves around your neck will supply strength to your hands. So when the lower back nerves begins to be pressed and you start having pain, you can, depending on which part of the leg the nerve is going to supply, you can actually have pain in that region. So you can have the pain from your lower back extending to your buttock area, and to your thigh, and even some to your legs, and even your feet, depending on which area the nerve that is being compressed or is being pressed is supplying. And then also you can, because the nerves is what gives that sensation. When it's compressed, you begin to lose that sensation. And so you can have some numbness and tingling sensation, or we call anansi, or pins and needles in your legs. And if it's happening in your neck area, you can have similar symptoms in your hands. Now, when it gets very severe and then the nerve is pressed to a very high degree, then you begin to have weakness in whichever area the nerve is going to supply. So if it's your neck area, you begin to have weakness in your hands. So some people will begin to have difficulty grabbing onto items. So maybe they take their car keys and it drops, or they are not even able to lift their hands well, all because the nerves are being compressed so much so that it's just not functioning. In your lower legs, in your legs as well, people will come with weakness and some will not be able to walk. Those are get to the very severe stages. Now, if you're not lucky and your spinal cord or the canal, the space for the spinal cord is compressed, then you can even have worse symptoms. So the nerves that control our ability to urinate, control our urine, control our stool, all comes from the back, the lower back. And so when your spinal cord the space for the spinal cord is being compressed because of this wear and tear changes, then those that have the severe cases, you can even lose control of your urination, so that when you want to, when you before you know, you urinated on yourself. And this happens more in the old population, and those that have very severe or very bad degenerative or wear and tear changes. And then you can also even lose control of your bowel, so that you can't control when you want to poop, or I mean, before you know, it's you just solve yourself. So these are some of the main symptoms that come. Another thing that happens is that because when it presses the nerves so hard and the space is so reduced, the pain usually will get worse when you walk. So people walk for just a short while, about 100, 200 meters, and then they are not able to continue walking because of the pain. And some would have to sit or bend in a certain position. So when they bend, it releases the pressure of the nerve, and then the pain gets better, and then they're able to walk for a while. And then the same thing recurs, the pain becomes severe, they have to sit or bend, take some unusual position. And so, you know, some of these people, especially the old people, you see them and they're not able to straighten themselves, because when they straighten themselves, the pressure on the nerves is so much, it worsens the pain. So when they bend, they release some of the pressure, and so they are comfortable in that position. So they will bend with their walking stick and then be walking around like that. So those are some of the things that can happen, or some of the ways this wear and tear changes can manifest itself. And then, like I said, it can happen in your neck, and it can happen in your lower back as well. And so how do we, aside the presentation, how do we treat these? So basically, when you start having these, one of the things I always let the patients or people that come to me understand is that, you know, it's like trying to get younger again. Once you are 60 years, you cannot become 25 or 30 or 35 again. So the main thing is that these things, once they start, there is no treatment, there's no drug or any form of treatment that once you take it, it will take all these changes, wear and tear changes back. It will reverse it and you get back to your original nice spine. There's nothing that can, as we sit in this 21st century, there is nothing, there's no form of treatment that would take your spine back to the original shape with the correct shock absorbers and all of that. And so when these things happen, what we do is that we manage the pain, especially if it's not too severe. So usually patients would not have pain all the time. There are times that they would have pain, and there are days that there are no pain. And so usually when people come, after assessing them, your doctor might ask you to do an X-ray to see how bad that it is. Sometimes if you are getting symptoms in your hands and in your feet, your doctor might go on further to request an MRI, because MRI will give us more details about the nerves that are being compressed, whether your spinal cord is being compressed. And then surgeons, neurosurgeons will usually use that to decide whether or not to give you a surgical intervention. And so we just manage the pain. Usually we give you painkillers, and then you take the painkillers as in when there is pain. When there is no pain, you stop the pain killers. Another thing we do is that because the bones are pressing on the nerves and the nerves are not functioning well, so there are medications that we give to help the nerve to function well. And these also help with some of the change symptoms like the weakness, the tingling sensations, and the numbness that comes with this condition. So, and sometimes, or especially in the early stages, we also let people do physiotherapy. So physiotherapy exercise, and not just any exercise, but specific physiotherapy. So we will refer you to see a professional physiotherapist, not a gym or anything like that, but a professional physiotherapist who will take you through some back exercises, muscle strengthening exercises to help improve the curvature and help reduce the pain. It's not to reverse the whole process that is going on, but to help reduce the pain so that you'll be a bit comfortable. And there are people who get to the extreme. When it gets to the extreme, especially when we cannot control the pain with the painkillers, sometimes there is a way of, there's an injection that we can give into the space for the spinal cord, and that brings down helps the injury that's going on and brings down the pain, so we can have that injection. So I'm sure maybe those who have parents or grandparents who have severe back pain may have gone to your doctors and they are giving an injection in the back. It gives you pain relief for anything between 6 weeks to about 3 months. It also doesn't take away the pain at all. One thing that also helps is massage, and especially in the young people whose problem is just because their spine have become straight, the early stages of it. Basically, if you have a very gentle massage, not any aggressive massage, but a gentle massage to relax the muscles around the spine, that also gives very good pain relief. Sometimes we actually go ahead to give muscle relaxants that will relax the muscles around the spine, and it's a very good painkiller. In the very, very bad stages, when the spinal cord is being compressed or the nerves are being compressed too much, usually there's a surgical intervention comes in where the surgeons will take you to theater and then take off the pressure. So because these structures are putting pressure on the spine, we'll take you to theater and remove these bones that are pressing on the spine, on the nerves and on the spinal cord. So you take you to theater, remove them, and then put in, because sometimes when you remove them, it makes the rest of the spine unstable. And so in some cases, they will put in some metals in the back, very fine metals, not big, very fine metals there, just to stabilize the bone, because by the mere fact that you're going to remove some of these parts would make the rest of the spine unstable. So we do that as well. But that is usually for very bad cases that are not responding to painkillers, not responding to the injection, or people who have started experiencing weakness in their limbs. The one thing about this thing is that if you don't treat it early, and let's say your limbs begin to get weak, you cannot revive the nerve again. And so usually you don't want the person to lose control of the limbs, of the hands or the feet. But once they do that, there's nothing to do to bring it back. And so those are some of the things that we do. One other component of this that usually happens in young people, and it's one of the things that can kickstart this whole process of spondylosis, when you have this shock absorber popping out. So it's called the disc prolapse. So this happens usually in young people. So usually you are picking up a heavy load, even they're lifting a bucket of water or lifting a heavy bag from the ground, then you hear a pop sound in your back. and it is associated with severe pain that goes into your legs, sometimes even difficulty walking. Usually what has happened is that this disc, which is a shock absorber between the bones, has moved from its position, moved back, and it presses on the spinal cord and the nerves around that area. And depending on which nerve it's pressing, would give you very bad pain and weakness in the area that the nerve is supplying. And that's, we call that a disc prolapse. And usually for that one, we just give you medications, pain medications, muscle relaxants, and then you're good. But it usually kickstarts the process of this wear and tear. How do you prevent this from happening? And so I said earlier that a lot of, once we're aging, eventually we're going to have it. And so you cannot control the age part unless you decide not to grow. And I don't know whether there is any mechanism to stop growing as at this time. And so you cannot stop the aging. But one other thing, what you can do is how you take care of your back as a young person, as a corporate person working, trying to make it in life. People are going to sit for long hours. So number one, let's learn to use our swivel chairs. To start with, if you're working with any company or any organization and you are not using a swivel chair, that is a remedy for disaster. So you actually need to use a swivel chair. And if you're fortunate enough and your company has provided one for you, you need to use it well. So you need to really relax, put your back, especially, and then those that have support for the neck, relax your neck in the seat. Move the seat under your desk so that you can comfortably work on your computer or anything you're working on. As much as there's a conscious effort that you need to take, it's very difficult. It's a conscious thing. You need to keep reminding yourself you don't want to develop back pain. And so you do that. And then don't sit for too long. So you sit for a while, you get up, you walk around, or those that have adjustable desks, you stand, you adjust your desk up, and then you work for a while, then you lower it and you sit down and you continue. And you get up, you stretch a little bit. All of that helps to relieve the tension in the muscles, to help to maintain the curvature of the spine and prevent some of this pain. Another thing you can do, if you can get some, especially when you get tired, when you've worked for a long time, you can get some regular massages, not aggressive massage, but a very good calm massage of the back. It relaxes the back muscles. It helps with the pain. The sitting also applies to driving. So you try as much as possible not to drive for long periods. You drive for a while, you park, you stretch a little bit, you rest, and then you continue. And then all of that helps with it. Okay. And you do regular exercising. So especially the young people, try and be active and try and avoid putting on too much weight. You exercise frequently. It's advised that at least 3 times a week you get to do maybe some 30 minutes of brisk walking or jogging, any aerobic exercises. It all helps with other organs, but it also helps with your back as well. If you're involved in any sport, it's even better. Try and be a bit more active. Once you're active, it helps the muscles of the back to strengthen them and helps them to maintain the shape of the spine. And it will help to delay some of these things happening. Eventually, it's going to happen though. But once you do these things, it will delay how soon these changes start happening. You adopt good eating behavior. I mean, once you're eating, your system is healthy. Some of these things generally take a bit longer to develop. And so, in a nutshell, this is what we mean when we say someone has spondylosis. We've talked about how it comes about, some of the symptoms, and at the moments, some of the treatment and options, and then also a few things that we can do to delay it, because we cannot prevent it, but then we can delay as much as possible. Let me add that one other good thing you need to do is to get a very good mattress, because at the end of the day, when you sleep, and when you work and you go home, you need to relax, and your mattress can also affect it. So we want something that is not too hard and something that is not too soft. If your mattress is too hard, what happens is that when you lie on it, your spine straightens because I mean it cannot curve. And so if you have a very hard mattress, it's like sleeping on the floor. A very bad thing. You should never sleep on the floor. It's so hard that it will straighten your spine. And at the end of the day, if you continue sleeping on the floor on a hard mattress for a long time, you're going to have back pain. Also, the mattress doesn't have to be too soft because if it is too soft, then when you lie on it, your spine will become too curved. You know, we need the curves, but we don't need too much of the curves. And so if it's too curved, then over time it's also going to cause back pain. So you get a very good orthopedic mattress, not too hard, not too soft. So that at the end of the day, you can have a good rest. And all of these would help to reduce it. So I'll end my talk here. And if there are any questions, I will gladly look at them and answer them. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Jefferson. Thank you very much. I like listening to experts, and I advise all of you to begin to develop a culture of listening and taking advice from experts. You saw how smooth he was going about it, smoothly, because this is his field and he knows all about these things that we're talking about. I hope by now we've all been well educated on what spondylosis is, some of the things that we do that makes it difficult. So I have a swivel chair here, and so I try to sit.
You have to make sure you always yeah, you need to practice.
Yes, yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's a conscious effort you need to make. It's quite difficult. You need to correct yourself from time to time. After a while, it becomes normal.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm happy you brought the mattress in. The mattress not too hard and not too soft. Very, very important because Charlie, at least 6 to 8 hours you're on bed and all that. Thank you very much, Jeff. Now, if anybody has any questions, please drop it in the chat box in the comment section. Doctor will answer all your questions. All right. So somebody is asking with respect to the mattress. All right. Are there any brand of mattresses you can recommend? And she
So
said
I
she also
mean,
needs a consult if you are
yeah,
available for private consults.
I mean, no company has paid me to campaign for them, anyways. So not a brand, but you know, all the brands actually have orthopedic mattresses.
Mhm.
So if you go to any mattress outlet or producer, they all have orthopedic mattresses, which comes in densities, you know. So the higher the density, the harder it is. And so you just get one that is maybe of minimum density, not too hard, not too soft. And then but surprisingly, the companies also produce very hard, very soft. So you need to decide. But the orthopedic mattresses are quite good. So if you get any of them, and then those that have those those mattresses that have springs in them, even better. Really, really good. So I mean, I think all the brands, so far as what they are producing is an orthopedic mattress, you're good to go.
So again, the person is asking, she needs a consult. Are you available?
Well, I usually I do consult at I'm sure some of you know, I'm on Sonotech. So
Yes.
those of you who know Sonotech at Osu and then at West Hills, you just Google them, give them a ring, and then you can book an appointment.
Good, good. So I'll give them another link. All right. Somebody's also asking, are high density mattresses okay?
Yes, so I think I just mentioned it so that the density of the mattress generally describes how hard it is. And so there's low density, minimal. So once is going higher, it just means it's quite hard. So usually you want to be in between, not too hard, not too soft. All right. And so if you go to the companies or to the showrooms, they will take you through all the densities that they have. And then you choose one that is usually not a high. There are some conditions I would say someone should go for probably a high density and somebody should go for a low density. But as a young person who wants to prevent these things from happening, you don't want something that is too high, you don't want something that is too soft. So a density in between high and soft, medium, or I don't know how the companies do call them, but that would help.
Okay, okay. Now this is the question I was going to ask. So somebody diagnosed with spondylosis, from what you've told us so far, somebody's asking, does it mean the person is going to be on pain medications for life?
That's the reality. Because, like I said, these are they are wear and tear changes. And once the changes start, they are not going to stop. They're going to worsen over time. And at the moment, as we speak, science is interesting. Probably sometime down, some 10 years down the line, there might be a discovery of something to do to help the spine to regenerate. By the moment as we speak, it's not possible. There's nothing available that will make your spine go back to maybe make the spine of your mother or your grandmother move back to when he or she was like in the 20s or 30s. There's no remedy. There's nothing that can do that. So because there's no way to, just like saying there's no way for us to get younger. You're going to grow older. You understand? There's nothing that's going to make us grow younger. So there's nothing that we can do as of now to take your spine to when you were younger with no issues. Therefore, there is nothing to really take the pain away forever. But the good thing about this condition is that you always don't have pain. It's only those who are the extremes who are like always in pain. So there are days that are painful, days that are better. So when there is pain, you take the pain medications. When there is no pain, you don't take the pain medication, so that it's not like you're taking too much of the pain medications to have any serious side effects. So unfortunately, if you start having these things, you're actually going to be on the pain medications for the rest of your life. And that is why it's important that as a young person, you put in measures so that you can delay this thing happening as much as possible. All right. So try and put in measures, sit well. If your company doesn't have a swivel chair, get a swivel chair. Because if you don't and your back starts paining you and it affects your productivity, your company is going to sack you anyways. So make sure your company is providing you with a good chair and you're utilizing the chair well. If you are working from home, make sure, and it's official, your company should provide you a chair. If you are doing your own business, working from home, spend money, invest money into buying a proper chair. Don't be, because if your back starts hurting and hurting really bad, you will not be productive. It will affect your business. So invest in getting a very good chair and then utilize the chair well. So as much as possible, put in measures to delay these things, because once it starts, and then especially once it gets very bad, so you just have to be on your on painkillers.
Thank you very much. So this is a typical example of prevention is better than cure, because
exactly.
Thank you. So there are two questions I have, but again, if you have any questions, please drop in the comment section in the chat box, and Dr. Jefferson will gladly answer. There's a question: what is the role of steroids in management? This comes from Dr. Martin. What is the role of steroids in management?
So if I mentioned earlier that when the pain is not responding to painkillers, there's an injection that we give into the spine, into the space where the spinal cord is. And usually this injection is a steroid. So steroids, so because of the wear and tear, there is some sort of injury, and we call it an inflammation. So it's an injury to the bone, the spinal cord, and all of that causes pain. And so when you put in these steroids, the steroids, they don't go into the rest of your body, just in the area. And then it reduces this injury and helps with the pain. But it doesn't reverse the process. Usually the steroids will give you pain relief from about 6 weeks, maximum 3 months. The effect of the steroid will be over. So we use steroids when the painkillers are really not helping. Some people are lucky once they're given the steroid and it brings the pain down, they don't experience that severe pain for a long time. And so steroids are employed. It's just that it's not the first thing you go to when somebody has back pain or somebody is developing spondylosis.
All right, thank you very much. There's a question in the chat box, a very important one, but I'll come there. But I want to know, those who undergo surgical intervention, how true is it that after about 5 to 7 or 10 years, they will need another surgery? How true is that?
So not necessarily need another surgery. So the surgical intervention is usually to remove the pressure of the nerve. Because if you don't remove the pressure of the nerve, it's going to you're going to, let me say, kill the nerve. And once the nerve dies, there's no way to let it come back alive. And so if it's happening in your lower back, once the nerve dies and your legs become weak and you can't walk, there's nothing to do to it so that you would be able to walk again. So when it's getting to that stage, then we take you to theater to remove, so we say decompression, to remove the pressure of the nerve. But most of the time, when we do that, I mentioned that the rest of the spine will become a bit unstable because you've removed some of its support. So we'll put some metal work, some implants in there to keep it straight. Yes. And over time, over a long period, one of the issues that may arise is that not everybody experiences it though, but you can develop some pain, some back pain. But mind you, this back pain might not be severe as the initial one, but more importantly, you have saved the nerve. Do you understand? So you're getting some sort of pain from the procedure, which you can manage with painkillers. But if you had not done that procedure, by the time you are developing this new pain after the procedure, you would have lost control of your legs and maybe you are limited to a wheelchair moving you around. All right. So over a long period, some people can develop some back pain. That's not necessarily need a second surgery or anything like that. Most of the time, you'll be able to manage the pain with some medications. But then it's a better bargain if you compare that to losing control of your leg.
All right. Very important practice. Very, very common for such conditions. Chiropractic. Please make a long statement and advise us or educate us before I get the question to you from YouTube. Chiropractic. What do you have to tell us?
Yeah, I mean it's a very sensitive area, so I'll try and be very diplomatic about that.
Yeah.
And they are everywhere now. Different people opening up and professing to have some sort of treatment that can either cure it completely. You see, in life, when someone says that it has something that can cure you completely, even science doesn't usually say that. So when anybody's marketing something, it says completely, I mean, you begin to raise red flags. All right. I don't begrudge them. I mean, they have some, I'm not too knowledgeable about what they do. But one thing I find interesting is this thing about setting your spine. I'm sure you've seen people go lie on a chair and somebody says they are setting their spine or rearranging it. It's very dangerous. As for that one, I have to say, because I mean, how are you setting the spine? And the spine, it's so delicate. The spinal cord is so delicate that if you go and do one of those things and you're not lucky, and the spine bones shift, and it presses your spinal cord, that's it. I mean, depending on which level of the spinal cord it shifts, shifted, you're in big trouble. And so it's a difficult thing. I don't want to make categorical statement, but with that back setting thing, I can categorically say it's very dangerous. It's not going to give you any relief. People go there, they do that thing, create the noise. It's just a sensationalism. It's very dangerous because you can go and compress your spinal cord and that'll be big trouble. If you are going for some sort of a massage, they are massaging your back and all of, because I know some of them do that. So far as it's not any aggressive massage, I mentioned massaging as part of the management. So massaging does help. So if you're going to a chiropractor for a very nice, gentle heat massage or something like that, it helps. But some procedures such as the setting of the back and all, they can be a bit dangerous.
All right, then let me go to the question that somebody asked on YouTube. It's asking, is it good to turn so much that you get the crack sound at your neck or back to feel relief when you feel tired?
There are people so that's what some of the chiropractors try to do. Yeah. I mean, there are people who are able to even crack their neck, once in a while, relieve. It's just like cracking your knuckles. I mean, I would just advise that you be gentle about it because,
Yeah.
the part of the spinal cord around your neck, if your spine bone moves and it compresses it, you're going to lose control from your neck down. And it's a debilitating condition to have. So you in cracking your neck, well, once it's gentle, nothing too aggressive. If it helps, fine. I mean, gentle ones. I don't think it does produce so much relief. I mean, you can just rather get a gentle massage of the back of your neck, and it should be able to give you that relief. All right. But let's treat our spines with a lot of dignity, because if you mess up around your spine, that's it. You're gone. I mean, you're going to have a very slow death, and it's serious.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Somebody is also asking, same person is asking, what advice will you give midwives and farmers who bend for so long in the line of duty?
Yeah. Yes. So one of the professions that have a lot of the back pain, young people, is nurses. And not just nurses, all health workers, and then bankers, or not bank, but people who work behind the computer for so long, people who are the teller for so long, farmers and all of that. You cannot say you're stopping your work, and how would you feed yourself? You can't do that. And so you put in some of the measures we've talked about. So if your work, you sit a while, you sit well, get a good seat to sit on. You do your work for a while, you stretch a little bit. When you go home, get a good mattress to rest on. Once in a while, get a gentle massage of your back to help relax the muscles. These are the things that help. A lot of the nurses, especially the midwives, because of delivering and all of that, most of them will get the disc prolapse and all of that. So try and take good care of your back. So it's a conscious effort that you need to make. You sit for a while, you stand for a while, you stretch for a while, you get a good mattress to sleep on at the end of the day. These are the things that would help. And once you start experiencing the pain, try and then see somebody especially as soon as possible.
All right. So another person, he's also asking, does hydration, taking of fat and oils, help?
Hydration, your body needs to be hydrated. I mean, let me take this opportunity to make a comment. There was a video of a very influential person, a musician, sometime last month, talking about if you drink water, your body will become dehydrated and you need to put salt in your water. I'm sure people saw that video. I mean, sometimes fame and things get into people's heads, and then they make certain comments that are not scientific. But hydration not necessarily helping your spine. Your body needs to be hydrated, especially in our part of the world where we're getting 33, 35 degrees every day. You need to really stay hydrated. So what I always tell people, once you go to urinate and your urine is amber, you are dehydrated. As much as possible, make sure that by the time you're going to urinate, your urine is colorless. That shows that you are well hydrated. It's just good for all the organs in your body. And then it will also help blood flow, which can to some extent help with the pain, not necessarily the back pain, but once all the organs in your body are working well and they are refreshed, I'm sure your pain will also improve.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Jefferson. Most of the questions, but all the questions so far have been answered. Anyone has any other question, please drop it, Dr. Jefferson. See, this is an opportunity. You are getting free specialist consultation. I don't know what you are waiting for. All right, feel free, ask your questions. He's gone through it smoothly. He's explained a lot of things. Let's be very careful when people promise us cure for some of these things. Yes, you are in pain, you want cure, you want to just take something or do something to let this one go forever. He's taken us through what you can see, the anatomy, how the spine, the spinal cord, the vertebral column, everything. He's made us see everything with our own eyes. It's a degenerative process. You can't stop it, but you can reduce the progression. You can prevent the worsening, and you can take care of the symptoms. And there are a lot of ways to go about it. He's taken us through all that. Now, if you joined us late, I'll be posting the recording on the YouTube channel, and then you can get, this is something you can actually share with your boss. All of you working in the space, in the workplace, you can share with your boss. And of course, I advise them all to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Dr. Albesedo here, for more content like this. Dr. Jefferson made a very frantic statement, which was, if you're working in an organization and you don't have a swivel chair, it's not being provided for you, you need to make a case for it, or you find a way of getting one. Because if you don't have one and your spine begins to give you problem, your productivity goes down, you are going to be laid off anyway. So you might as well help yourself, get yourself sorted so that your productivity goes up. Any more questions?
I think Eddie has posted. Eddie wants to know what's the percentage success of the surgical interventions, and then with respect to the steroid, is it associated with long-term side effects in the mind, and how long? So the percentage success. I think the surgeries are mostly successful. I mean, when it comes to surgery, it's only when it doesn't go well that people would hear. And so you would only hear of the stories of people that didn't go well, and people get scared. Usually, what I ask my patients is that, haven't you heard of somebody entering a car and getting in an accident before? Or they'll say, "Oh yes, I have." And I ask, "But when you're coming to see me, didn't you enter a car?" No, I say, "Oh yeah, you entered a car." Of course, the fact that somebody entered a car and got an accident doesn't mean you shouldn't enter a car. A few people will have surgeries, various surgeries, and have some complications. If you do the surgery in a proper facility done by qualified people, there are so many measures that are put in place to prevent complications. I mean, sometimes complication would happen regardless of what you do, but as much as possible in good facilities, surgery being done by qualified professionals, so many measures are put in place to prevent these. And with regards to the side effects of the steroid is not a daily dose thing, because an injection is just once in a while. You go, we give you an injection. If your pain is not responding to the oral painkillers, it's an injection that we give that should maximum give you pain relief for about 3 months. If you're lucky, some people after the 3 months, they don't experience very severe pain, and so they can manage with the pain oral painkillers. And so it's not something that is going into the rest of your body. It's acting just in the area where it is injected. And so it's not going to go into the rest of your body and give you complications like other people who are on oral steroids for various conditions, maybe becoming bloated, putting on weight, your skin becoming light and all of that. No. It's just acting in the spine, and not even in the whole spine, just a specific area of the spine. And so you don't have all those complications. Aku is also asking, what supplements can a 31-year-old diagnosed with lumbar spondylosis take? I think somebody, if you are 31 and you've been diagnosed with lumbar spondylosis, you are obviously not sitting well in your office. So you take the medications, you can get some supplements, not a problem, but the emphasis is on treating your back well, really. If at 31 they've told you you've started developing spondylosis, it means that you are doing something wrong when it comes to your spine that is making this disease process that is supposed to happen in people who are nearing retirement, or people in retirement, occurring in a young person. All right. So the emphasis is on putting in measures to prevent it, or to delay how soon it's happened. So check the way you're sitting at the office, check your mattress and all of that, and I'm sure the pain will get better.
All right. So with respect to Aku, you're trying to say that at the age that she's been diagnosed, she should focus more on continuing her medications and measures that will prevent the worsening of the condition.
Exactly, because at 31, it's too early. At 31, it's like your shock absorbers are still pristine. They are still new. You shouldn't be having these issues. So if you're having this, so usually the people who have 30 are getting these symptoms at 31, they don't really have lumbar spondylosis. Probably they have it at the very early stages. Most of them is because they are not sitting well and they are losing the curvature of their spine. The back muscles go into contraction, and so the back muscles are contracting so much. When they contract that much, they don't get it. They don't get a lot of oxygen, and so they begin to get injured, and that causes a lot of the pain. So usually you get a muscle relaxant. You can get a soft massage once in a while, but ultimately you need to take good care of your back because otherwise, by the time you are about 45, hitting 50, you would have very back pain that will reduce your productivity at work drastically. And this is whether you're working for somebody or working for yourself. And so you need to look at it.
Is yoga okay for someone with lumbar spondylosis? Yoga.
For somebody with lumbar spondylosis,
Yes.
it might, depending on which stage you've gotten to, it might be even difficult for you to do yoga. But of course, if you are doing yoga at an early age without before you develop all of these things, it strengthens, it's a good form of exercise. It strengthens your back muscle, it helps to maintain the curvature. And so people who do them would usually not have back pain, or they would have all these changes, symptoms will happen later in their lives. But when you develop that bad spondylosis, I mean, sometimes even stretching yourself is difficult. How much more attempting to do yoga, you get it. And so those who do it at an early age, it kind of helps them to slow down these things happening. But once it's setting and it's so painful, usually we'll let you go and see a physiotherapist. They'll take you through a series of back spine exercises that help. I'm not sure when your spondylosis is very bad, you can really do like aggressive yoga and stuff like that. But definitely stretching, yoga will stretch your back and all of that. It helps.
All right. So in the same 31 female, she's asking, is pregnancy advisable considering the pain in the waist and lower back?
Is pregnancy advisable?
Yes.
Well, I mean, you are 31. I don't know how many kids you've had already, but
None.
you are still young. Yes, none. I mean, you need to have kids, all right? Unless you are averse to having kids, you have to go ahead and have it. I mean, the fact about life is that good things don't come easy. Having kids, it's a good thing, and sometimes it's worth the the pain. Of course, if you have very bad back pain before pregnancy, usually when you are far advanced in pregnancy and your abdomen is very big, it worsens the curvature, which can worsen the pain. But there are medications that can be given to help with that pain. So don't say because you have back pain, you're not going to have kids. No. I mean, life doesn't work like that.
Now, somebody is asking, just as I expect, a lot of questions are now coming. What is your take on someone with lumbar spondylosis and being given tap dexamethasone?
Tap dexamethasone.
Yes.
So a few people will try that for usually a very short course. Eventually if you take the tab, it's eventually going to get to the spine anyways. And so a few people will let you try an oral course of dexamethasone. It's not a very common practice though. But then again, I might say that it depends on if the person is being assessed by a specialist that puts them on that. It depends on what the specialist has seen. It's possible the person has some other condition that the dexamethasone is going to help with. That's why the person is taking that. And so yeah, it's not a common practice. You may be given a short course of it, but maybe the person has some other condition in addition to that.
All right, there are a few more questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Jefferson. What is your advice on the use of pillows?
Pillows where?
It's quite a big question. I don't know if your bed or
Yeah, so I realized probably maybe, if a lot of people would take pillows to work and put it, I mean, at the in their seats. And I mean, some of the time it's interesting because these people, most of them would have very good swivel chairs. And then they are already not relaxing in the chair. All they need to do is to relax in the chair. Once you relax in your swivel chair, you're fine. You don't need to add a pillow into it because the swivel chair is already curved. And if you put a pillow at the back, then it's going to worsen the curve. So your back is going to get to, especially the lower back, is going to be too curved. That in itself can cause some pain. But I see people who don't have swivel chairs putting a pillow at the back to help with the curvature. It helps a bit, but they are better off investing some money and getting a swivel chair if you're working for yourself or complaining to your employer to get you one. I see people also put it in their car seats, at the back of their car seats. And yeah, I mean, most of the time, these are drivers who are not relaxing in the car seats. And unfortunately, these are our ladies are usually the culprits because they become so close to the steering wheel. Try and relax your seats. Position it so that you can sit in the seat, relax your back, and still have good control of the steering wheel, and also have a good vision of the outside. And then that should help.
I like how this particular lady is taking advantage and asking all her questions. Aku is asking again, are braces okay for lumbar spondylosis?
All right. I mean, I think that's a fantastic question. Braces. So they are not okay because, I mean, usually when even you come to the hospital, sometimes we'll give you braces. I mean, some specialists, depending on how bad your condition is, but usually they will let you wear the braces for a short time. What happens when you wear the braces is that it takes over the work of the muscles around your spine. It's like it's doing their work for them. And if you are in an office and there's a new person in the office that is doing all the work you are doing for you, what will you do? You just relax and be enjoying your life. So when that happens, the back muscle, they also become relaxed and eventually they become very weak so that once you remove the brace, you cannot control your back. You cannot even sit straight. Do you get it? So don't routinely just go and buy the people have back corsets that they wear. I mean, I'm not talking about the one the ladies wear. It's a different topic for a different day. But don't be wearing braces for your back because you have spondylosis and wearing it all the time. Initially, it will give you some relief, but eventually your back muscles are going to be very weak and you have very bad complications from it.
All right. Somebody's asking the question, what's the correct posture or position for sleeping?
I don't think sleeping has a correct posture. Get a good bed. I mean, there's no human being or very few people can sleep in one position for the entire night. And so I don't think there's any good posture. I mean, because you can sleep on your side, on your right side for a while, turn to the left side, sleep on your back, sleep on your tummy. You can have one. I don't think I've not seen anywhere, I've read anything, come across anything that says this is the correct sleeping position. I mean, and I don't subscribe there. I mean, there are a lot of information online that are just people just giving false information and all of that. There's no way you can sleep in one position. Get a good mattress. Feel free. Definitely by the time you wake up, you'd have changed your position in bed so many times.
All right, so there's a question. It's a good one. The question is it likely to improve? Is the spondylosis likely to improve with time if you adopt lifestyle changes pertaining to your posture?
So it's, especially if you adopt them early, the pain is going to improve and is going to slow the process. Let me give you an example. Let's say you drive a car. I mean, you've bought two cars, two people, and one of you probably you all work in, let's say, at airport, and one person lives at East Legon. Good streets, I mean, perfectly tarred roads. So they just drive from East Legon to the airport. And the other person is coming from, maybe the person has built his own house in an area that is now developing, that has very bad roads. Do you understand? Over the period of time, whose shock absorbers are going to weaken faster? Definitely the person driving on a bad road. All right.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that once you are taking good care of your back, it's like you are driving on a good road. Even if you are driving on a good road, eventually your shock absorbers are going to weaken and you would have to change them at a point. But it will be so many years compared to the person who's driving on a rough road every day. Okay. So that's the same principle. The changes, so far as you are aging, the wear and tear would happen. But then if you put in some of these measures, it will slow it down. And once it is slowed down, the pain is going to be better. It's going to take a very long time before the pain gets worse. All right. And so that's the principle. When you put in the measures, it will not reverse it because there's no way to reverse it. It's like you can't become younger. You'll still be growing. And so the wear and tear will be going on. But the rate at which the wear and tear goes on will reduce if you take good care of your back.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My question is with respect to the pillows again. How many pillows would you advise we sleep on? The head end of a how many pillows? One, two,
Yeah,
three. How many it's like, you know?
yes, I mean, especially I mean, people who have, I mean, let me just say, people who want to feel so comfortable
Yeah, you
would buy
know.
so many pillows, you know. Ideally, if you have a very nice soft pillow, one pillow is enough. Because if you put in too many pillows at the head end, it will curve your neck, the spine around your neck so much so that over time you're going to start having neck pains. All right. So unless you have, but let me say that there are people who have some conditions, like some heart conditions, that when they lie flat, they find it difficult breathing, and so they have to put on a number of pillows so that to push their top end up and they can breathe well. If you don't have any of the challenges, try and just use one pillow so that your neck area is not too curved. Because if it's too curved over time, you're going to have neck pain.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jefferson. Thank you very much for making time and answering all our questions. Please, with the next 10 seconds, if you have any more questions, Dr. Banda Khalifa, we see you. Thank you very much for gracing the program. We appreciate it.
Dr. Abdullah, greetings.
All right. Thank you very much, Banda. We all say greetings to you. We see you. We see you. Thank you very much. If any more questions, please, last 10 seconds so that Dr. Jefferson can, he's really spent a lot of time with us answering all our questions. That's great. And we are very grateful. All the questions have been answered. Those that I have also have all been answered. And all clarifications have been made. Dr. Jefferson, how common will you say spondylosis is in your practice, in your clinic? How common would you say it is?
I think it's very common, especially in the older age group. And so a typical clinic, a typical orthopedic clinic would have more than 50% of the people coming there, especially those who are older, complaining of back pain, neck pain, knee pain, one pain or the other, just because of it. It's quite common. And even in the young people, a lot of them do come these days with back pain. And they, like I said so many times, basically because of the way they are treating their spine. So it's a very common condition, especially, I mean, when we start having more old people, so when our generation, our population, we begin to have more older people in the population, I mean, then the number of people coming down with back pain increases. Our population is quite a young one, and so you don't find it commonly in the young people, but a lot of the old people do come down with these things.
All right. So last question before you give us your final word. Somebody's asking, is spondylosis hereditary?
I wouldn't say it's hereditary. I mean, there's not, no, it's not hereditary. It's something that's going to happen as you age. All right. Something that's going to happen. A few people will be born with, even that is not hereditary. So people would be born with some spine abnormalities. So there's something called scoliosis, just some abnormal curvatures of your spine. That if you're unfortunate and then you're giving birth to and you have some of these changes, I mean, you can start having pain at a very early age, even before in the teenage, you start having pains, and that would worsen over time if it's not corrected. So not hereditary, but a few conditions that can let it happen quite early. So if you have pain, doesn't mean your children are going to have pain. But once your children are lucky enough to grow beyond 60 and all of that, definitely everybody is going to have, not everyone, but most people are going to have some amount of back pain, joint pain here and there because of wear and tear changes.
Yes, I'm sure that's why some people may think it's hereditary because they saw it in their mother, their grandmother,
Yeah.
and they think
Yes,
because it's
yes,
coming down to them, like they feel like it's coming
yeah.
to them.
It's
Is
just
the
because you are
age.
growing.
Yeah,
Yes.
is the age. So please, what will be your final words?
Final words, I think these videos are educational, trying to prevent more a lot of the conditions. So especially the young people, because a lot of young people are coming down with these conditions. Let's take good care of our back. Let me say it again. If you're working in any organization, you've not been provided with a swivel chair, talk to your employers. If you are self-employed, make sure you invest some money, getting a good chair. Once you have the chair, make sure you are utilizing the chair very well. Sit well, relax your back in the back of the chair. You get up regularly to stretch, and then you exercise every now and then. Stay healthy, and some of these things would not happen and then affect our life. So those are my final words. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for listening to this long talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jefferson. Despite your busy schedule, you made time to spend almost an hour and a half with us. We appreciate you so much. And thank you very much, every one of you, our audience, for also taking time of your busy schedule. For those of us who join us late, please, I've shared the YouTube link in the chat. Just subscribe. I'll be posting a recording few minutes after this is over, so that you can go and listen to from beginning how he explained what spondylosis is, what causes it, what are the risk factors and all that, and how to prevent it. He went into details in the simplest of language. No terminologies were used. Throughout, he didn't mention even intervertebral disc, nothing. He made it look very, everybody can understand. So we appreciate you so much, Dr. Jefferson. And of course, for us, once you do well, we are likely to ask you to come back one more time or another time. Thank you very much, and every one of you. Once again, it's the Weekend Health Talk, and until I see you again, it's been a pleasing pleasure serving you all.
All right, take care.